This is one of my favorite Great League teams I've ever created. I've run this since Season 3 of Go Battle League, and it still seems to find a place in the current meta. Alright, we're just gonna jump right into these battles.
Fight.
So, starting off, we have this lead was amazing for us, and the switch, honestly, kind of scary. I was thinking, a lot of times with the Annihilate switch in, I don't like bringing Tentacruel because of the resisted poison, but to be fair, Cresselia also is kind of scared of those Shadow Balls. They do make a great job at baiting me with the Night Slash, but pretty much as long as we shield a Shadow Ball, we should be fine. And I'm okay with committing double shields to win Switch with this team. Winning Switch with this team is pretty significant for the most part. But as you can tell, if you're new here, I am running Confusion Cresselia. This has been a staple of this team for seasons now. I know it seems a little odd, but it synergizes really well with this team, especially with the Acid Spray on Tentacruel, and it can actually flip matches it typically normally couldn't deal with. So, as you can see in this match, it's just like hard counterville. I mean, Annihilate a little scary, but as long as we won Switch, yeah, as you can see, the Annihilate was not really that much of a problem. It didn't really break through what we had going on here. So yeah, lining up Tentacruel with Azu, if you don't know, this is pretty much a death sentence for Azumarill. And pretty much from here, we can just finish off with a Scald into a low-end Sandslash. So that is a GG. But yeah, I've run this team so many times throughout the years, and I'm surprised. I mean, Tentacruel got buffed recently, so that was actually really nice for this team. I think it actually made this team stronger. But my last team, the video I made, I ran the D-Gen team with Bastiodon and Shadow Victory Bell. So I was thinking, in case people started running that, I wanted to bring a team that could deal with that. This team is good with dealing with Bastiodon teams, good with dealing with Fairy type teams, Charmers, Azumarill. That was kind of the original reason why I designed this, but as you can see in this match, this is really good too because we get the Mandibuzz switch in. I decided to bring in Tentacruel. That is our best play. I mean, we could stay in with Scrafty, honestly, and do some damage with counter, but it's kind of better just to stay with the clock if we can. They bring in back their Galarian Stunfisk, and I'm just going to hit it with a Scald, which is nice. I mean, they don't shield. And at this point, we're looking pretty good. We're going to take the Earthquake to the face. I don't really know if it's worth saving my shield or not at this point, but they end up having Cresselia in the back. And I felt at first I may have hastily switched in. Maybe I should have tried to land a foul play or something first, but this is a very interesting situation because if you know anything about Cresselia or fast moves, Confusion's slower at energy generation than Psycho Cut, but it chunks more damage than Psycho Cut. So I'm in this scenario where I'm getting hit with way more moves by Cresselia than I'm returning, and they make a great sack swap here too, which I was like, oh my gosh. But I undertap and decide, okay, so I guess my only win condition at this point is probably to go for the pup. I'm not even kidding, like straight up just pup. Interesting enough though, I don't think they even shield this, which that would have been a death sentence if I would have just thrown foul play. But the way I was looking at this was, they're so low on health that I could probably just barely farm this one down with Scrafty. I know it's kind of insane. This whole match was, I mean, it was a good start, but having that Cresselia mirror can be detrimental. I make a great call and I sack swap Cresselia here to the Grass Knot, and I can just barely finish off with the pup, which was insane because I was brought down to the timer there as well. GG's. Okay, so in this next battle, Deoxys. The way I usually like to play the Deoxys lead with this team, I want to throw foul play, and ideally, you know, I switch after that and try to force them to switch out with Deoxys. And they do end up bringing in Umbreon, which is not great, but we're already to a Moonblast, so that's kind of nice. Unfortunately, I mean, if we got RNG with the attack drop, that would be amazing, but it's not required for us to play through this. This is a matchup where we're going to lose Switch, but we're going to be okay with that situation. I'm going to throw another Moonblast. They're going to let it go through because they can tank it for sure. And I'm going to bring back in Scrafty and just gain that little bit of energy on Umbreon. So, yeah, I'm going to take a foul play to the face here. There's really no reason to shield. Even if it was last resort, I'm not going to shield that. And in comes the Deoxys again. So, because Deoxys is so low on health, I'm thinking maybe there's a way I can play through this. I decided to go for the bait move, and they do commit the shield, which is pretty advantageous for us. I think I commit the shield and I switch directly into Tentacruel here. And in this situation, they make a really good call. Because I was thinking there's no way they're going to shield this. Because if I go for Acid Spray, it could be pretty scary. But they actually do shield, which kind of is my... this is probably the one play in the match that kind of flips it. Because if I would have gone for Acid Spray, there's no way the Feraligatr would have survived the fast move damage. And I probably could have just barely beat Deoxys with the Scrafty. So GG's there. Nice call to shield that. But yeah, in our next battle, we get a Knocked Owl. And honestly, not like the worst lead for Scrafty. I know it's a flyer, but it's a normal type as well. So it still does end up taking a decent amount of damage from the fighting moves. I decided to switch in Tentacruel, and I'm going to shield the very first move and try to go for an attack drop with Scald. And they do commit a shield, which makes sense. I guess, you know, it's scenarios like this where, like, if I just reverse it, obviously it would be more advantageous. But the thing about Tentacruel is a lot of times people don't shield suspecting you're going to bait. So a lot of times I prefer to play it more aggressive. And in comes Surfetched. And at this point, I figured, wow, this is going to be really good for us. I'm just going to throw the Acid Spray. They do end up committing the shield. I mean, Surfetched is so frail that even getting hit by a Scald is going to bring it down pretty low. But thankfully for us, with that defense drop, they force Surfetch to switch out, but they end up having Chestnut in the back, which I thought was kind of spicy. And because they have Chestnut, this ends up being really good for us because I can just throw the Moonblast, remove Chestnut, and they have the Surfetch with a little bit of health, but I can actually bring in Scrafty here and take a move and just pretty much remove it. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of sick. I caught the Night Slash too, but it didn't really matter if I got hit with a Leaf Blade. Okay, so this is probably the worst possible lead I could get with this team. Or, okay, Galvantula and Charjabug. Actually, I'd probably arguably say Galvantula is a little bit more difficult to deal with the lunge spam. But yeah, we get Charjabug lead here, and I decide to just kind of stay in. I think it's probably our best method is to try to like get a foul play off. Interesting enough here, I probably should not have switched out. I probably could have racked up a similar amount of damage with the power-up punches, and I could have prevented myself from getting hit by a discharge. And from there, this puts us in a tough pickle. See, like, they make a good call and they don't shield, but they also might be counting. And yeah, from here, I'm just going to keep throwing Acid Sprays into Feraligatr. But yeah, it's not looking too good for us right now. They seem to be running Crunch recently, and because they switch out like that, they have all that energy preserved on their Feraligatr. Plus, they got rid of their defense drops. Azumarill, honestly, we're not going to shield this, but kind of tough still with the Feraligatr having that energy in the back. I'm going to throw the Grass Knot, and from here, it's looking a little too close for comfort. I think what I end up doing is staying in with Cresselia, and I just let it go here. And I almost feel like Cresselia maybe, I don't know. Well, to be fair, there's nothing we could do, honestly. They have two moves. I mean, honestly, I'm pretty confident they had two moves. I didn't verify that by counting, but I don't think there's a way I could have won that match at that point. I would have probably lost to Azu in the end. But this next battle, Get a Lantern lead. Honestly, not the best lead either. This can be a little tricky for Scrafty. I am going to commit the shield. They could, I'm pretty sure they could just go straight Surf for the most part and do some significant damage here. They bring in Skarmory, and I probably could have stayed in a little bit longer and racked up a bit more damage with Scrafty. But I decided to bring in Tentacruel, thinking, well, Tentacruel's not going to be too helpful against the Lantern, so might as well do that. And they make a good call, and pretty much just no shield entirely here, leaving me to double shield just so I can retain Switch. I don't even know if it was worth doing that though. Now that I'm looking at this, is it really required that I one Switch here? We do get the attack drop, which is nice, and a shield. And yeah, at this point, it really comes down to the backline. They end up having the Altaria, so that's kind of scary. And I'm going to throw a Moonblast here. They do commit the shield. I could have potentially bait, but I make a bad call. I was trying to catch a Sky Attack, but all I end up doing is feeding them extra energy. And upon coming back in, they can hit me with a Moonblast. And I'm going to die to the Dragon Breath damage. So honestly, pretty close. I feel like if I could have maybe caught a move more timely, that could have been beneficial, but yeah, that was a tough one. We get Altaria lead, definitely not a good lead. I always switch to Tentacruel against Altaria leads. Altaria isn't a great Pokemon for our team to deal with as well, but our hopes are that they want to switch out on the Tentacruel in hopes of preserving it for Scrafty. They do end up bringing Wishcash in, which is definitely kind of scary. We do get one shield, which is kind of nice. And I decided, you know, getting that one shield is probably the best we're going to be able to do here. We're not going to be able to win Switch without sacrificing too much. So I'm going to bring back in Scrafty, get a little bit of farm down. Because they get that attack drop, I'm just going to save my energy, and I'm going to insta-swap into Cresselia. As you can see here, I am getting a nice bit of damage with Confusion off on Altaria. They generated some energy to preserve, and they have Vigoroth in the back. So I have about 2 Grass Knots almost fully loaded. So I'm going to throw both of them into Vigoroth, and they don't shield at all, which is really good. I'm not going to shield either. I'm looking at this match. Maybe Scrafty is going to actually be the one to take down Altaria here. And sure enough, that's pretty much going to be the case here. Kind of crazy how close this gets. I'm going to throw Foul Play, and I'm really close to my second one, so I'm thinking I'm actually going to just barely clutch this. They suspect I was going to bait there, which is a good call, but unfortunately for them... Oh wait, actually, I don't... Yeah, pretty much we had to go for the pup at that point. For the finish. Between the counter damage and the pup, that brought us enough damage to take down Altaria, so that was kind of insane. So in this next battle, we get Empoleon lead, which is great for our team. They bring in a fighter, and my natural instinct is to switch into Tentacruel. So they're running Psycho Cut now, so the damage isn't too threatening from the fast moves. But in these type of scenarios where we win the lead and the switch, it's important we win switch. So I'm going to commit the shields, even if they don't. And in comes the Empoleon again. I'm going to throw the Scald in hopes of getting an attack drop. Scald will still do a decent chunk, being the Shadow variant. And getting under half health is pretty nice. So from here, I'm just going to bring in Scrafty. I'm going to take a Drill Peck to the face. They might switch out, and they end up having Venusaur in the back, which is amazing because I have Cresselia with Confusion, which typically, unless you're running Future Sight, this would be a tough match to flip. But because I'm running Confusion, and it's a Shadow variant, it's not going to appreciate this fast move damage, and I can just kind of like run through it. They bring back in Empoleon, and at this point, it's not really going to matter. Even if they had double Drill Peck here, they're going to die to the counter damage before they can throw 2 moves. So, GG's there, dying with 2 shields. Alright, in this next battle, a Frostlass. Frostlass is pretty good for us, but it can be a little tricky. I typically don't like the bait in this scenario, but baiting could be very advantageous if the Frostlass commits the shield. If you do play on baiting, I would absolutely recommend powering up, making sure you have charged up to a foul play, so your opponent thinks you might throw a foul play instead. But yeah, they don't shield at all, which just creates an amazing scenario for us to kind of like wreak havoc on the rest of this team. They bring in Talonflame, which can be a little bit of a problem, but we do get off that foul play nicely, and from here, I'm going to just go for the Acid Spray in hopes of them not getting off another move, but they do shield, and I think they would have lived that even if they didn't shield. But in my mind, I was thinking, all I really want to do is be able to remove Talonflame, and it doesn't matter if they have 2 shields. If I can somehow get an Acid Spray off on their back line, there's a really good chance that we'll be fine. And it ends up being Venusaur, so that kind of confirms that this is GG, because look how much damage the Confusion does after the Acid Spray. It's kind of insane. And yeah, even if they bring in Talonflame here, it's pretty much game over. Alright, I think... is this the last battle? I can't remember. Empoleon lead, definitely good for us. I decided to stay in and throw... I think I built up energy. I don't even throw a move. I just built up a little bit of energy. Honestly, kind of sloppy. I was kind of having a slow reaction time to this Gligar. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I think Cresselia switch in, especially because it's not like a Night Slash variant, was actually probably our best decision. It's just to try to get out of there, but it's not a bad decision also to just have that energy. I know I can take this dig to the face, so I can just farm down the rest, and that's really nice. As long as we win switch, that's all that really matters. I have a Grass Knot ready for Empoleon here, and yeah, they're not gonna shield, which makes sense. I'm gonna bring back in Scrafty on Empoleon, and we have energy generated. There's a really good chance they're not gonna shield here, suspecting I'm just gonna Power Up Punch. Because if I pop, they might just switch out immediately, but I just throw the foul play, remove Empoleon entirely. They end up having Superior here in the back line, and I can just go for the Acid Spray. It's pretty much game at this point. I mean, Tentacruel being a poison type can afford to take a grass move, and being poison type versus the grass plus Acid Spray is just very advantageous for me, and they're just gonna let it go at this point because they know even if they shielded this, there's nothing they can really do. So GG's to them. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to really do all my daily battles. I only got to do 2 sets yesterday, which are these 2 sets. And this brought me up to like 24:48, so I'm really close to the veteran. Thanks for tuning into the video. Definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It does help my content out a lot here on the platform. And with that being said, the Sass Squad is getting stronger each and every day. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in. And I'll catch you in the next one. And if you'd like to check out more battles from my OG team, consider watching this video right here, or this video right here.